Watch and burn.
Hey everybody. So tonight I am looking to discuss the 1993 film Judgment Night, starring Cuba Gooding Jr., Dennis Leary, Emilio Estevez, Stephen Dorff, Jeremy Pivens. There's probably more people in this and I can't think of them. But anyways, this movie's fun. Okay, mainly I have more issues, bad things to say about this movie than I do good things to say, and that is mainly rooted in the fact that the soundtrack for this was so earth-shattering at the time because it sort of beat the rap rock thing that, you know, Korn and Limp Bizkit would be associated with. It beat that by almost, like, my God, 6-7 years. This movie came out in 93. The soundtrack was released at the same time, of course. The soundtrack was amazing. You had Biohazard and Onyx teamed up. You had Slayer and Ice-T team up. Who else is on here, too? Helmet and House of Pain. And, see, the thing is, what this movie is about is a group of guys, whatchamacallit, Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., Stephen Dorff, Jeremy Pivens. Jeremy Pivens is like a salesman, sort of like he's quick-spoken, very quick-tongued. He talks this RV sales place into lending him this 1950s-looking RV, which I hadn't noticed. I've seen this movie a handful of times. I watched it again a couple days ago. I never noticed that the RV looks like it's from the 50s. But anyways, this 1950s-looking RV, he talks them into letting them take it out for a night because he lied to them and said he might buy a fleet of them or some bullshit. And him and all his friends are going to go down and see some big, I think it's a boxing match that's going on. Except they get caught in traffic and they decide to take a shortcut. They end up in a really bad part of town where Dennis Leary and his cronies are conducting some sort of drug dealing business or something. They witness a murder, and then Leary and his friends start coming after Emilio Estevez and everybody. It's a cool movie. It's a fun setup. And Dennis Leary, he talks so fast and he's so cruel when he does. Like, Dennis Leary has a way of like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the hell is wrong with you? What are you, fucking retarded? And he has that way and those eyes. Like, he just kind of like knows how to like go crazy fast. So Dennis Leary makes a really compelling bad guy. And I like the dudes that are with him. They're rough, they're tough, and I believe them. But the soundtrack to this movie teams up Onyx with Biohazard, okay? That's who I pictured the gang coming after the clean-cut Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr. and everybody. I pictured them looking like the guys in Biohazard or the guys in Onyx, okay? If you don't know who Onyx or Biohazard are, look them up. Onyx is amazing. Back to Fuck Up. That record is awesome. That's when hip-hop was going through its ultra-aggressive phase in the early to mid-90s. And Onyx are a fucking prime example of that. Biohazard, that's Evan Seinfeld. They kick ass. They've been around forever. That's who I pictured the gang looking like. But they don't. They're slicker looking. And the whole thing doesn't really make much sense because they're in a really bad part of town. It's a part of town that's controlled by street gangs. And Emilio Estevez and them end up, like, they see one of the lookouts spot them. And the gangbangers don't do anything. And I mean, that's just no way. They see like 5 clean-cut, completely out of place substitute teacher looking type dudes down there. They are going to victimize them. It's just what's going to happen. But they don't. And they give a little friction to Dennis Leary and his friends when they come through there. The gangbangers are like, yo man, this is our neighborhood. This is our block. Dennis Leary buys them off, and he's allowed to go into their neighborhood looking for them. But again, that just sort of backs up what I said a second ago. Like, why didn't they attack Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr. and them a little more aggressively? I mean, they didn't do anything. That's kind of this whole movie. It's like a lot of build-up, very little payoff. And it's very traditional. I love the cat and mouse element. I love what happens on the roof when they have to climb across and Jeremy Pivens is too afraid of heights, so he tries to talk his way out of it, and they kill him, of course, because he thinks he's like the ultimate speaker and he's going to talk his way out of this. He doesn't. They kill him. He's the only one that dies. Everybody else makes it through. And then the part at the end, like, it gets really long at the end. When they're in this little like grocery store in the bad part of town that's closed, and they set off the alarm, but then Dennis Leary and his men are there and they're shooting the place up, and then, you know, it's taking the police forever to get there, and holy fuck does the end go on forever. It's a cool movie, don't get me wrong. You won't be disappointed if you check this movie out, but given how aggressive and how crazy the soundtrack is, like the Slayer and Ice-T team up, they do 3 Exploited songs. 3 songs by the band Exploited, okay? This movie does not, like, the visual side of this movie does not marry itself off very well to the audio side of this. As far as, like I said, Slayer and Ice-T doing a 3-track medley of Exploited songs. This movie doesn't fit that. This movie does not fit the attitude that Onyx has. This movie does not fit the attitude that the guys in Helmet had. I don't even know if Helmet's around anymore. It's a cool movie, but there's something wrong with the casting. I think the guys coming after them, like I said, should have been a little more Onyxy, Biohazard-like. And then the other problem I have with this movie is mainly that they didn't use enough of the tracks from the soundtrack on it. And considering how cataclysmically large the soundtrack was and how it was everywhere because it was such a good idea, teaming up hip-hop with like metal was a really fun idea. But they just didn't capitalize on it enough or something. This movie almost feels sort of like average. It's like a Saturday afternoon movie with a ultimately badass soundtrack that just does not fit this movie at all. And I think, actually, that's probably where I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I said everything I was going to say. The soundtrack was better than the movie. It was way underused. That's the God honest truth. But look, I'm getting out of here. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little over 6 minutes while I discuss the 1993 film Judgment Night. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go and do something nice for somebody. But like always, most importantly, never forget that the world is a way better place because you are in it. I'm getting out of here. Have a good night.